Hello, ladies and gentlemen. The round of 16s is upon us. The group stage has officially ended by the time this is uploaded. But since the round of 16s is approaching just after the group stage is finished, literally the day after, I have recorded this round of 16 prediction video on separate days with a different guest after every few or so matches. I know a lot of my group stage predictions didn't go to plan, but I'm not complaining. That's the beauty of this tournament. So unpredictable. Who would have thought for some of these groups the outcomes that we have seen? But of course I gotta be giving it another go, and I'm gonna be sharing my round of 16 predictions with you all on the Pooky website. Make sure you send over your predictions onto Pooky as well. The game is currently in its free-to-play stage, and if you get scorelines correct, you will receive Matic currency along with Pooky balls, which will be massive perks for your predictions later down the road. Pooky balls are not only the gateway to the game, but they also had a fun gamification element to the prediction, since they come in different rarities and traits, which will affect the points after each prediction. Once you sign up, you can choose 2 free Pooky balls, so choose wisely. And if your predictions are amongst the best, you can receive loads of rewards, such as a PS5, FIFA 23, Pooky apparel like t-shirts and caps, and gaming vouchers on your preferred console. If you think my predictions are an absolute joke, make sure you go head over to Pooky, click the link in the description below to prove that you're a better predictor than me. So the first match we're going to be taking a look at is England versus Senegal.
When you look at England, they have looked really good so far in this tournament. I think they're probably going to be one of the favorites now at this point, because their group stage wasn't necessarily a cakewalk on paper, technically yes, but you know, you have some tricky matches against Iran, Wales, and the USA, where the USA game was probably the one where they struggled the most in, but I still felt they did okay, they did enough, because that's kind of the flexibility you get in the group stages. Then you have Senegal on the flip side, who definitely were favorites kind of going into it as an African nation prior to Sadio Mane's injury, but then he got hurt. People were starting to doubt them a little bit, and for sure, you know, they had a rough patch in the group, obviously losing one of their 3 games, but they, you know, they clutched up in the final game against Ecuador, who kind of looked like the favorites to get out. You know, for me, I think England are probably the favorites going into this. I can't really look past them, but I think the one thing that Senegal can use to their advantage is this is kind of the time where England might start slipping up, and we haven't seen, I mean, there has been small moments where England haven't looked amazing. They haven't been perfect, but they have looked really good, and so I think we're starting to now get to the point, will now England lose again in a penalty shootout? Will England make any mistakes? Will Harry Maguire make any mistakes? Will Gareth Southgate make any tactical, you know, poor tactical decisions? And we're now getting to that point where the pressure starts building for this team, so I'm just going to go with England, but I don't think this will be an absolute cakewalk like their group stage matches were for them. My score prediction will be a 2-1 win for England.
Fair enough. Yeah, England have been looking fantastic. Apart from the USA match, they were able to score 6 goals against Iran, 3 against Wales, 9 goals so far in this tournament, which is insane. The only match it seemed like they looked to struggle up top was against the USA, like I mentioned. They definitely are looking like the favorites in this, especially with Sadio Mane's injury. That will definitely cost them. I know I was wrong about that for the group stage, but this is the round of 16 now, and they're coming up against a very tough opponent that do have that firepower up front. Senegal still do as well, as we've seen, but it might not be as potent against a tough side like England. It's going to be a tough one. I don't see it being loads of goals, so that could age terribly, but I'm going to say that England do make it out in this one. I did have England getting upset in the round of 16s earlier in my other prediction videos when we did a mock bracket with an unofficial bracket of which teams would advance. But now that we've seen England play, they look like a very convincing side. So it definitely would be an upset, especially with that Sadio Mane injury, like I said, especially due to the fact that he used to play in the Premier League. He could be familiar with a lot of the defenders he'd be coming up against, but unfortunately I don't have him this time around. And I do see England getting out of this match. My scoreline prediction also will be 2-1. I really do see it being narrow and both teams getting on the score sheet here. England having a bit of a scare, but they pull through at the very end. And now for USA versus Netherlands. Now the USA have actually also been very impressive. I heavily doubt this side due to their manager Berhalter. And although many people are still complaining about him because it seems like there's some feud going on between him and Gio Reyna behind the scenes, the USA were still able to pull through and not lose any matches. They drew with Wales, they drew with England, and they narrowly beat Iran. They've only scored 2 goals in the World Cup so far. However, their defensive displays have actually been very solid. Apart from conceding that penalty against Wales, they haven't conceded any goals in open play. So you got to give props to this side of how much they've pulled their strings together. Despite with the quote-unquote poor management, their talent is shining in this World Cup so far. And we have seen Netherlands get upset in the round of 16s in Euro 2020 to an underdog, Czech Republic. If De Ligt is starting, he's already known to have round of 16s disaster classes, not just for the national team, also for Juventus in the Champions League. So anything's possible here. I wouldn't rule out the USA whatsoever. Definitely not the favorites in this. Netherlands, before the World Cup, were looking like the most informed team in Europe. They still are undefeated. They only were not able to beat Ecuador, but they still got a draw against them. Very decent group stage run so far. Gakpo has been on absolute fire as well. I wouldn't rule out either of these teams. I think anything can happen here.
Yeah, I think you touched upon a lot of the key points for both of these teams. I was someone as well that was a little bit worried about the USA going into this World Cup because I believe the last time they won a match away from home was when they beat Honduras in World Cup qualification. So their win against Iran was a win away from home after a really long time for this team. And, you know, Greg Berhalter makes a lot of questionable things. I think that Giovanni Reyna situation will maybe hurt them, say, if they do advance from the round of 16, because you need talent like Giovanni Reyna when you get to the latter stages of a World Cup, because that guy could be a complete difference maker in any match. And so for the Netherlands, they've made it to a World Cup final back in 2010. They made it to the World Cup semifinals in 2014. But, you know, ever since then, they haven't really been that same team. And I think that Euro 2020 match against the Czech Republic is a good example of, you know, they have mistakes in them, and sometimes they do fall short. Do I think this team is completely different from that Euros team? Yes, 100%. I will say that De Ligt has improved quite a bit since his move with Bayern Munich. It was a little bit shaky in the beginning, but I think he's actually gotten his groove together, and I think he's been doing a lot better. And then with the Netherlands having Virgil van Dijk next to him. And the USA, though, they're very talented. We saw that, and the fact they haven't conceded a goal from open play it's very impressive. Even though they rotated their center back partners, they also brought in Carter Vickers as well in the match against Iran. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe this match goes to a penalty shootout, and we could see maybe the USA squeaky bum their way in that penalty shootout to advance to the quarterfinals, because Matt Turner is really good at saving penalties. So I might give this nod to the USA because, you know what? You know, I've underestimated them throughout this tournament. So, you know what, this time around, USA, you have my applauds and my approval, and I'm going to say you guys will advance and make it to the quarterfinals of this World Cup. I think it'll end 1-1 after the 120 minutes, but the USA will be victorious in the penalty shootout to advance to the quarterfinals.
It's really not a bad shout. The USA actually really look convincing in this tournament. This could be massive for them, but the Netherlands will be tough. They could hit on those weak points, though. Matt Turner, like you mentioned, has been looking fantastic. If this does go to penalties, it definitely could go the United States' way. However, I do see Netherlands coming out on top on this. Won't be surprised whatsoever if you're right, Cheyenne. But the Netherlands should be able to do this job. They should make it to the quarterfinals minimum. I do think that Netherlands have what it takes to beat the United States narrowly. Also, we didn't even mention Pulisic might not even be playing in this match. It's still up in the air. They're going day by day to see if he will be fit, and he will be crucial for this. He's actually been that difference maker for them many times in this World Cup so far. So, I'm gonna say it finishes 2-0 for the Dutch. All right, so now I'm with Giorgio the Paraguayan. First, we're gonna be taking a look at Argentina versus Australia. Now, Argentina are obviously the clear favorites here, but I don't wanna rule out Australia again. All right, that was a mistake last time around. They finished off their group in second place in style. They did get a hefty loss to France at the beginning, but they very much picked it up, beating Tunisia 1-0, and then beating Denmark 1-0. That was many people's World Cup projected dark horse, and this side finished fourth place. They finished off the group with the same amount of points as France at the end, which is incredible. Shout out to the Socceroos. However, I think they have a really tough task against them. This is Argentina we're talking about. Yes, they did get upset to another Asia country, Saudi Arabia, at the beginning. However, I think Argentina have very much learned from that, and they're going to be a lot more composed in this. I cannot see this side getting knocked down the round of 16s. They were my World Cup favorites at the beginning of the tournament. I don't know if they have what it takes to make it all the way, but they should not be bottling it this soon to the Socceroos.
I gotta go with Argentina. Obviously, they're the favorite. But having said that, I think this match will be a lot closer than what a lot of people think. I mean, just basing off how these games have been going in this World Cup, like there's a new upset every single day, you know, like no one's unbeatable. Argentina, Germany, Belgium, the list goes on and on, you know. I see Argentina winning 1-0. I feel like Australia is really gonna play defensively and they're gonna do everything in their power. I mean, like Isaac was saying, they have the momentum on their side. Like the performance against Denmark was not expected by most people. So I see them, you know, going with that momentum and putting a real fight against Argentina. But yeah, Argentina, I think they're gonna win it in the end.
1-0 is, I guess, seeable, but I'm gonna go for a heftier scoreline. I'm gonna say Argentina are able to get a 3-1 win against Australia. Won't be surprised if they put off a good fight like you said though. I just do see Argentina showing that they are the favorites in this match. Like you said though, so many upsets, anything's possible. Don't write off any of these teams, but Argentina have what it takes in this match, in my opinion, and I'm saying they go out with a bit of a bang, but Australia get on the score sheet themselves. Next up, France versus Poland. Now, again, we do have a clear favorite here. France, who did top their group, like I already mentioned, sharing points with Australia. Poland were not looking the most convincing, let's be honest. They did squeeze out of their group, but it really was down to the wire. It nearly went down to yellow cards as well. They had one more point on goal differentials compared to Mexico. If Saudi Arabia didn't score in the dying minutes against Mexico, it would have broken down to yellow cards. But there are still some great talking points about this side that could set them apart from this amazing squad, the World Cup champions last time around. The biggest standout for me is their goalkeeper, Szczęsny. He was incredible against Argentina, despite conceding 2 goals. Before that match against Argentina as well, he kept clean sheets against Saudi Arabia and Mexico. You gotta give props to him, because in the last World Cup, he really wasn't that convincing. In 2018, he conceded 5 or more goals. So I gotta say, Poland have really stepped up in that department. Szczęsny himself is doing bits, and maybe he can hold off that dangerous France attack with the form he's in right now. He's definitely going to go in a bit confident in this match, even with the likes of Mbappe up front. There are still some injuries present for France, obviously. No Benzema, no Pogba, no Kanté, but clearly it's showing that they still have a lot of depth and they have what it takes. Yes, they lost to Tunisia 1-0 at the end, but they played so many reserve players and in odd positions as well, like Camavinga at left back, Guendouzi at left wing. So I wouldn't necessarily rule off France just because of that result.
I gotta agree. I mean, France, their team, I think their team, along with Brazil, has to be one of the most stacked teams in this World Cup. Having said that, you know, Poland has Lewandowski, Szczęsny, so anything can happen really. People have been talking about the World Cup curse. France proved all their critics wrong. Amazing wins, amazing performances in their first 2 games. The players that they have is just too good, and I see them winning 3-1.
A lot of people try to write off France for many reasons, and like you mentioned, the World Cup curse. I was included. I'm guilty for that. I doubted France a lot just because of that historic thing we have seen within the past 3 World Cups. But clearly it proved us wrong. But another reason why you could say France might not be able to do it is because look at what happened in the last Euros. With Switzerland, 3-3 thriller, went to penalties, Switzerland advanced to the quarterfinals. Everyone was banking that France could win that tournament as well. With Poland's more composed defense and, like I mentioned, phenomenal goalkeeping from Szczęsny, he could potentially hold off this side. I still have France going through though, but I'm not going to go as hefty of a scoreline as you. I'm going to say it finishes in a narrow 2-1 win. So now we got Zishan here, and first we're going to be taking a look at Morocco versus Spain. Shout out to Morocco for topping their group. They really killed it. They beat Belgium 2-0. They drew with Croatia. They beat Canada. Fully deserved from Morocco. But now they're going to come up against a tough opponent, Spain. Who?
Tough. What you mean tough? You see what happened yesterday?
Yeah, they did
Morocco,
Japan.
2-0. Easy peasy. Morocco, these are my brothers, and we're at our home. Of course they're going to beat Spain. There's not even a doubt in my mind.
You know what? I actually agree with you, Z-Shot. The thing is, it's crazy because in Group E, we saw Germany collapse, Spain narrowly making it through. I mean, they had that goal differential going on their side after they demolished Costa Rica 7-0 at the opening day. But the fact stands that both Spain and Germany lost to Japan 2-1. Japan we'll get into later. They're an absolute wild card. The creativity from the likes of Ziyech that we've seen on the pitch is very much present. Morocco can actually expose Spain here. I don't mean to jinx you guys. I hope I don't, because I slept on Morocco in the past, but now I'm going for them to win this. I think they can take advantage of Spain here and grab a 2-1 victory.
Home turf, baby, Muslim country, we got this.
That too.
Easy peasy.
That too. The Moroccans here, they've turned up everywhere we go.
Spain, you could have had this. You used to be a Muslim country, but you know, now you're going down. I'm sorry.
Everywhere we go, we see Morocco fans. So they're going to technically have that home advantage. I haven't even seen many Spain fans. Moving on to the big one. Well, at least for us. We're going to this match. Japan versus Croatia.
Arigato! Sushi going down, baby. We're going to kill this. Oh, easy peasy. But it's going to be fun. Oh my God, I'm so happy it's Croatia, Japan, and not Croatia, Spain. Japan, Croatia, the fans are amazing. On both teams.
Japan were able to already beat two European giants, like I mentioned, Spain and Germany 2-1. Can they tackle against another European opponent? It's very much possible. I don't want to rule out this side at all, and I could see them making it to the quarterfinals. Croatia better not underestimate these guys. Croatia can probably control the possession with their phenomenal midfield, but Japan know how to counter. Croatia definitely should study this side and not repeat the same mistakes Spain and Germany made.
Japan, Croatia, it's going to be tough, but you know I have to support Hrvatska here. A close game. I'm going to say 2-1 Croatia.
I'm going to agree with you. I think it's also going to be 2-1 for Croatia. I had a feeling that Japan would play this type of football. I just didn't think that they could actually squeeze out of the group. They very much did so on the final day. I don't understand how this side was able to beat Spain and Germany, but failed to beat Costa Rica. It just doesn't make sense. So they're an absolute wild card. You don't know what you're going to get out of this side. Very, very unpredictable country. Probably the most unpredictable country at the moment that has advanced to the knockouts. But I'm going to say Croatia pulled through, and it finishes 2-1 for Hrvatska, just like you said. Idemo. Now for Brazil versus South Korea. Shout out to South Korea for qualifying for the next round. Incredible stuff. South Korea were the side to advance over Uruguay thanks to not accumulating as many yellow cards. Winning against Portugal is not an easy task, and they clearly wanted it so bad after that very late goal from Hwang Hee-chan. The point gap in this group was very close. In fact, in many of the groups, it was just insane. But Group H ended off with an upset, which I was predicting at first, but then I decided to play it safe and change it up. Both Ghana and South Korea put off tremendous fights throughout this tournament, so I gotta say, it was very epic to see an underdog advance to the next round. But coming up against Brazil, it ain't gonna be easy. Many people have Brazil as their World Cup favorites, so it's almost unimaginable to see them getting knocked out this early. They've been playing phenomenal football. Yes, they just lost to Cameroon 1-0, but they played a lot of their subs. These sides actually faced each other recently over the summer, and Brazil were able to win 5-1. So I think it's going to be something similar. I hate to say it, best of luck to South Korea, but I'm going to say Brazil win 4-1.
With Neymar hopefully back on the pitch for the round of 16s, they can only get better from here. From defenders, midfielders, attackers, like it just seems like this is Brazil's year. And South Korea, you can't count them out, especially in this World Cup. So many upsets. It seems like we shouldn't be surprised anymore, you know, when a giant goes down. I see Brazil edging South Korea by 1 goal, so I'll say 2-1.
And the final match we're going to be looking at, Portugal versus Switzerland. This is actually way more 50-50 than people make it out to be. Sure, on paper, Portugal are the much more stacked side. But Switzerland, as we know, love to upset the giants. We saw it in Euro 2020 against France. We saw it in the World Cup qualifiers. They were the first team to kind of pull back Italy from automatically qualifying for the tournament. And then they didn't end up qualifying at all. They also are already familiar with Portugal. They faced each other in the Nations League. They were in a group with Spain and Czech Republic. They lost to all the teams at the beginning, but then they came back and beat all of them. So they already could potentially know what it takes to beat a side like this. Of course, people love to write off the Nations League, and obviously, the Nations League results didn't completely justify to what happened at the World Cup. We literally just got back from watching Switzerland beating Serbia as well. It was a very high intense scoreline, 3-2, with the likes of Mbolo was pressing wonderfully up top to Shaqiri, Xhaka. This side definitely has the quality to make it to the quarterfinals once again in a major tournament. Do you think they have what it takes though, Giorgio?
Absolutely, especially after their performance against Serbia. I see them winning, honestly. I don't even know if you could call that an upset, to be honest, because Portugal, they haven't been super convincing. I think Bruno Fernandes has been amazing, but besides that, I wasn't impressed by Portugal. I doubt Portugal is gonna do the same thing, and they have such a stacked squad, but I do see Switzerland winning this match with a scoreline of 1-0.
What's holding this team back? Their manager Santos. I've said it so many times. Yes, he did grab 2 wins at the beginning, but was it convincing enough, Portugal? The Uruguay win was fantastic, sure, but Ghana, it could have easily been a tie. In fact, there was a questionable penalty call in that match. And then they lost to South Korea as well. Of course, not a single team in the World Cup has gotten 9 for 9 points in their group, but Portugal definitely could have done it. If they just kept fully composed, maybe they weren't super motivated since they already had that top spot. Switzerland, without a doubt, have what it takes to beat Portugal. I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm gonna play it safe and say Portugal are able to do the job. I'm gonna say this one goes to penalties though. It's gonna be a 1-1 scoreline and Portugal make it to the quarterfinals. Well guys, that's the end of the video. If you enjoyed, please hit that like button and subscribe if you're new. Thank you to all the guests who did make an appearance and share their predictions. Make sure you share yours in the comments below and on the link in the description below on the Pooky website. Obviously, take these predictions with a grain of salt because my group stage predictions were horrendous. I'll do a reaction video on all of that in a bit because we have to attend the USA versus Netherlands match. And then after that, I'll try to film that. A lot's coming in at once though, so make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And yeah, I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care. Laco noite.